Hello, dear thrivers. I want to talk about the inner child after narcissistic abuse. Because if you keep promising yourself, I'm not going to react this time, and then you find yourself back in the same fights and the same pain and the same triggers, it's not because you're weak. It's an inner child loop that's being hooked within you. And today I'm going to talk about the 3 loops that narcissists trigger the most, that pull our unhealed inner child back into the fray. And we're going to talk about how do you break those loops? How can you do it in a fast way? How can you do it quantumly so that you can change the destiny of your relationships really, really quickly rather than having to do years or decades of therapy? So that instead of collapsing into childhood regression, where it's actually that 6-year-old or that 10-year-old or 3 or 2-year-old that's showing up within you, you can be an adult in your body and just not even feel the trigger and respond completely differently. So, hello, beloved thrivers, people who are usually at my channel, and for new people that are coming into this community. I'm Melanie, if you don't know me, and welcome to Thriver TV. I'm so grateful for you supporting how to heal for real from narcissistic abuse rather than just go through the information about narcissists, because I'm passionate about not just surviving but thriving. So please share this video and my material out to give people hope that there is a better way and a real way to heal from this. So this loving space is all about how to get our focus off narcissists, definitely to work out what they're doing and why they do it. I go into a lot of information about that. But where I want to help you the most is to recognize what it is within us that's keeping us hooked and triggered and handing away our power and our energy and staying in these cycles. Because we want to be able to respond and get out of these cycles. Okay, so if you're new, just say hi in the comments. And if you want to not just survive, but thrive, write thrive on in the comments. Okay, so why does it matter to have a look at our childhood wounds and what's really happening in the dynamics with a narcissist? Because narcissists don't meet you adult to adult. The truth of the matter is narcissists are really wounded souls, and they're operating out of their shame-based identity, which believes I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, I've had to create a false persona in order to get my needs met, which is the narcissistic persona, the false self. And this is a cover up for an extremely wounded inner child. So they're coming from their insecurities. They're not coming as a whole adult in a relationship. They put on a mask and a performance that they are, but as soon as the cracks happen, you see the angry child. Now, what happens is narcissists in their own lower unhealed frequency, wounded frequency, they're actually targeting and hitting us at our unmet needs as an inner child. So it's actually a wound to wound dynamic that's going on here. So these are the parts of us that still fear abandonment, feel shame, we feel fear. And until we've understood that and realized that, we haven't understood the dynamics of where they're actually able to capture us and where we're handing over our power. And narcissists are very, very attuned to how do I, and a lot of it's unconscious for them because they're wounded and they're unconscious, but they know what works is to actually profess to be the savior of somebody's unmet childhood wounds. So they can show up with the persona and the charm of, well, I'm going to grant you being seen, being heard, being met, being protected, being saved, being adored in ways that we didn't get as a child. And we fall into it. But then what happens is, as the relationship progresses, because it wasn't built on wholeness and a true self, what happens is they start to actually use your wounds against you. And what trauma bonds you to a narcissist is our unmet childhood wounds. And that's what I want to look at. And I want to explain the three most common ones to you. So, number one, and it is really, really big, is about abandonment. And abandonment wounds are so common. Women have them in spades, women who get with narcissistic partners. And the abandonment means that I'm going to overgive, I'm going to overlook the red flags, I'm going to make up in my mind the idealized version of you that I want you to be, which is based on your charm and the things that you've presented as a mask. But when I start seeing reality and I start seeing red flags, I'm going to dismiss them. I'm not going to honor my intuition and what my body's screaming at me. I'm going to go into cognitive dissonance to stay connected with you. Now, abandonment often means fawning. And fawning is one of the most painful things that we can do. And I have done this so much in my relationships until my Thriver healing. And what that means is somebody hurts you and you go toward them. You have an anxious attachment style. Just say me in the chat if you've done that. If you recognize that somebody's been hurting you, and rather than pulling away to look after yourself and getting out of the vicinity of somebody who's hurting you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or whatever it is, or even physically, that you go towards, you try to lecture, you try to prescribe, you try to fix. And it happens a lot. It happens in relationships with narcissists, and it happens in relationships with avoidant people. Now, what's this showing us? We're going to talk about that. Okay, so the signs of having abandonment traumas and wounds. Okay, and a lot of people are saying that in the chat. You've got them. They're so common. Men can have them too, but they're really, really common with women, because in our zeitgeist, for women up to 100 years ago, not even, if you were abandoned by a man, you may not have had rights to property, your children, you may not have been able to create an income, and you couldn't keep yourself protected or safe in the world. So if I'm left, I'm going to die. If I'm left, I'm going to lose everything, which feels like death. They're really big traumas. And what I've found in my own life and with people who I've worked with as clients and in the NARP program, until they've got to those deep programs that are in their past life matrix, their family line, their epigenetics, until they're actually loaded up and released and replaced with true self-source light, they play out. I've seen women who are millionaires, who have got multi-million-dollar companies, that when he leaves her, she literally feels like she is dying. It's not logical. It's deeply embedded in our consciousness, but we can shift it, and we need to shift it. I was like that horrifically as well. I get it. Okay. If you feel like when somebody left you or the relationship was going to end, that you were dying, or you feel like you're dying, just write die, D-I-E. Actually, are we allowed to do that? Maybe Facebook might censor us. Just put me in the chat. Just put D, put capital D, actually, if you felt like you were dying. Okay. So what happens is you scramble to fix things, you over-explain. You might even apologize and take all the responsibility if somebody's going to leave you, knowing that you shouldn't be doing that, but you're trying to save your life. You feel panicky. You might even I remember throwing up once from terror of abandonment. You may feel like you want to text them 1,000 times. They shut off their phone. It's literal panic. Okay. So what happens is when we have abandonment traumas, and I'm just going to put it to you really, really straight, because your soul has got one purpose, which is to evolve you from your soul corrections that you came into this lifetime with, so that you can be whole, self-generative, and have the life that you were always meant to be gifted with. But we have to go through our soul corrections to get them. Now, what happens is with securely attached people who don't have those childhood traumas, which means you don't have those past life soul corrections that you're going to come into a family, relive these traumas with again and bring them up again. And that was me and that was you, okay? Somebody securely attached, if somebody starts becoming inconsistent and pulls away, they would state their boundaries really calmly. God bless these people. And either the person steps up or they step out. And it's okay, that's disappointing, but I'm whole and I'm not tormented on that level. And therefore, I'm going to go and create a relationship with somebody who has got the capacity to be emotionally available and emotionally consistent, which is not a narcissist or an avoidant personality. Okay. But for us, what happens is if we have fears and terrors of abandonment, it means that we are going to get in a relationship with somebody who's emotionally unavailable, which is going to trigger up our abandonment stuff so that we can heal our inner child and get back to wholeness. And please know at the quantum level, when I'm talking about inner child, I'm actually talking about the past life skirmishes that are the soul correction that's come in with you as a child into your family and into your life. Okay, so if we haven't healed our fears of abandonment, we will cling way too long to the wrong people. We won't set boundaries. We will have people who withdraw, who go cold. We will have people that use your abandonment terrors against you. Okay. You will have situations in your life where you're handing over your boundaries to try to not be left. And that absolutely creates you as susceptible to abuse until you reverse and do that soul correction and evolve yourself. And then you can start attracting whole people. And actually the narcissistic avoidant people won't be attractive to you anymore anyway. They'll leave you cold. Okay, so boundaries are really important. If we shift and we do the inner work and quantumly, you can get over this skirmish really quickly. Days, weeks, and months, not lifetimes, and certainly not decades of therapy. And that's what NARP does. NARP helps you reverse all of these traumas. Okay, so a boundary is where you start to have mutual love and care for yourself, and you have the ability to speak up to somebody about what you need and their consistency. And rather than focused on trying to fix and change them to get your soul correction, you get your own soul correction, which is, I might still be hurting and triggered, but I'm whole and solid enough with the inner work. I can now set a boundary that if you don't meet me at a level of mutual care and communication and respect and presence, well, therefore, we're just not a match. You're not a match for me. So really what this means is when you get out of your abandonment fears and your programs, you are no longer chasing love. You are love. And most definitely how your inner child feels now is, little one who I adore, I'm not leaving you. You have my love, you have my care, you have my respect. I value you, which means I no longer have relationships with others who don't value you. Okay, so that's the abandonment trauma that our little child, our inner child, our past life selves have brought in to correct. And we get these people to help us correct them. I want you to understand everything is happening for you and not to you. That gets you out of victimhood, it gets you into healing and ascension, and it gets you lined up with the manifestation of your true destiny, the one you do want to live. But we need to become conscious and look at the bigger picture. And that's what I love quantumly. It gives us a roadmap of how to get out of being a victim into a survivor and then into a thriver. So the second wound that our inner child is carrying that causes so much pain with abuse and after abuse is if we have a shame wound. And the shame wound is, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Okay, now we know narcissistic individuals, what happened with them is they buried their inner child and they metaphorically threw their inner child in the corner covered it up with a false self, a fictitious self, and didn't want to know anything about the inner child, which means I'm not going to be vulnerable, I'm not going to be real, I don't want to look at that, I don't want to heal that. I just want to live my life through a false self. And it's a shame-based identity. It's too shameful for me not to be in my ego. But it's paper thin, and that's why you see a narcissist at any perceived criticism. Avoidance can be like that, especially severe dismissive avoidance, that any perceived criticism, because the shame is so great, they get triggered and they react. Now, what I want you to understand is if you are receiving that from somebody in your life, there is a mirror there. It doesn't mean you're narcissistic and avoidant. You're more likely to be anxious. But what it is you've got a shame wound as well. Okay, there's nothing that we're receiving that we're not carrying at some level ourselves. It doesn't make us a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm victim shaming. It doesn't mean we asked for it. It's just energetic law. So within, so without. And if we don't understand energetic law, we don't understand how to reverse what's happening in our life to get the life that we really do want. So the shame means that you are defending yourself. What does a shame-based wound mean? It means you're always trying to be seen and heard and understood and validated. That's what anxiously attached people do. So you're always trying to defend your integrity to a narcissistic individual who's telling you you're bad, you're wrong, it's your fault. And you're trying to convince them that you are a good person, that you do have integrity, that you do the right thing, because the bottom line is, at an inner level, from your childhood and your past lives, you felt persecuted. You felt like you weren't good enough. You felt like people didn't trust you and didn't believe you. And at some deep level, because you had all of that projected onto you by other wounded people, there's a part of you that believes you're defective and you're unlovable. And that needs to heal. So you explain, you know, when you're explaining who you are, what you did, you're justifying, you're telling them why they've got it wrong over and over again. And the thing is, with a narcissistic or an avoidant person who's projecting onto you, they're going to twist facts. They're going to blame you. They're avoiding accountability at all costs. So it has to be your fault. They're rewriting history. You're coming back with trying to prove the right history and explaining and fighting and justifying over and over again. Who's done that? Say yes in the chat if you have, because it's so horrible. Okay. So what you're doing is you're having conversations trying to prove your basic worth. Now, please know that when we heal that up and become securely attached, what would happen is you know your worth, you know your value, you know who you are. There's nothing to defend. And if somebody starts manipulating and somebody starts putting that down, there's nothing to defend. You know it's an indication of them and it's nothing to do with you, and you don't engage. You're like, that says more about you than me, and I don't have to defend a thing. I know who I am and we're not a match. Okay, so that's the second one, which is our shame wound. Who's lectured and prescribed and over-explained? Oh my gosh, I can't imagine the amount of words that I have wasted in my life doing that. That one was huge for me. The first two were really, really massive. Okay, so the third one is fear and freeze, where the inner child has frozen. This is actually the walking on eggshells. Okay, so the walking on eggshells is when you don't know what to say, you go numb, your body braces, you become hypervigilant. So you're always trying to, and empaths do this a lot, highly sensitive people, starseeds, empaths, who feel other people's energies. And you might think as an empath and a starseed, you know, and it is a super skill, it's incredible. But when it's in a disempowered way, I'm scanning my environment outside of my body to try to work out who I need to be in order to be safe. This inevitably starts happening around false self personas. narcissistic wounded individuals, you do that because they are always a millimeter away from a narcissistic injury, which means that any perceived criticism, or if something doesn't go their way, their inner self is going to explode, because the false self, paper thin, cannot be a durable buffer for it because it's not real. So, when narcissistic supply isn't happening the right way, then their inner demons come out, the unhealed self, and you cop it. So you're not sure what to say, what to do, who you're coming home to that night. You're back in freezing. Now, I want you to understand this is familiar. You wouldn't be there unless this is familiar. This is unhealed trauma that's coming from your childhood and your past lives, where you had to be hypervigilant to survive. And that's why you're attracted to it, because it's familiar to you. So, what needs to happen here is that fear that's in your body, and so much of it can be connected to the fear of abandonment and also shame-based wounds. As anxiously attached people, we are trying to be good enough to be loved. So we're staying connected, but then in that connection, you're walking around on broken glass so that you don't get set off a time bomb and or risk abandonment and more shame, quite frankly. So they're all kind of hand in glove. Most definitely healing the abandonment traumas and the shame-based wounds is so important, but also too about the fear of what's going to get set off here. Because once that fear leaves your body, and this is what you discover about narcissistic individuals and also avoidant individuals, is when the fear is gone and you can be your authentic self without trying to lecture and prescribe and change them to get what you want, to just develop yourself, you find that they have so much less power over you than what they used to have. And in fact, it just doesn't have an impact anymore. So what will happen is you will be yourself, and if they react and attack or raise their voices or start going into disdain or sarcasm or the things that used to trigger you, if those triggers are off, you're just going to ignore. You're going to be able to set clear boundaries. I'm not available for this conversation. I don't need to give you an answer. I don't respond to that. That could be your reality, but it's not mine. So, and then what happens with your inner child? You're self-partnered because those traumas are off. You're no longer external seeking to get your healing, which always fails. We didn't get it as a child, and as an adult, you're still not going to get it. It's between you and source and your healed up inner being. So what happens with your inner child is safety comes from within. Safety comes from my connection to source and me with myself. I choose safety now. And what you're saying is, inner child, I choose you. I choose you. I've shown up. I'm here. We're no longer choosing that. All right. So what I want to do is I want to do a little quantum reset with you that can help you with your inner child. So what I'd love you to do right now is just place a hand on your heart. And I want you to just close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. And you may want to have a hand on your womb or your tummy, just wherever, or your solar plexus, wherever you feel anxiety. And just relaxing your body, opening your heart, and just taking some deep breaths. And I want you to just direct your attention inward to your inner child in your heart. Or maybe you feel her or him in your belly or your solar plexus, whatever feels right. And I want you to repeat after me. Little one, I'm here. I see you. I won't abandon you anymore to chase, to prove, or to be there and endure, freezing, to try to be safe. I want you to know that you can be safe with me. And together, we can be safe in source. The light of the Creator. Now I want you to visualize warm golden light filling up any parts of your body that have been tense and in pain or fear or lack or loss. Fill those parts with this beautiful golden light. And as you breathe, I want you to imagine breathing out those hooks, those trauma hooks, and see them as hooks or anchors or whatever's weighed you down or kept you stuck. Give it a visualization. Breathing in the golden light. Breathing out the hooks. When you may feel some emotion rise, just let it be. Let your body express. And just witness with love. Beautiful. And just when you're ready, you can come back. And I want to give you a power intention. I meet my inner child with compassion and truth. I choose safety and love for myself. Rather than what is not love and is not truth. Together with my inner child, I am coming home to source. The love, the light, the truth. Of source and all of creation. Beautiful. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, for those of you working with Quantum Freedom Healing, I'm going to put in the chat a source healing and resolution and a goal setting. I'm going to drop it in there right now, and you can pick it up later or whenever you want to. Okay. And that will help you as well. You can use either module 1 or the source healing and resolution out of NARP to do the work on those 3 triggers that are still keeping you stuck. And you'll notice a really big difference. If you do that morning and night for 3 days, you're going to see a huge diminishment in your hooks and your trauma bonds. Okay, so maybe some homework that you could do here. All right, work out a body cue that you're going to honor. So that means if you feel fear come up, when you feel tightness, when your throat clenches, I want you to put your hand on that part of your body. So rather than react, rather than hand your power away to that abandonment trauma or the shame-based trauma or the freeze trauma, take yourself away before you react. Put your hand on that part of your body that you can feel that's tight or constricted, and imagine breathing in that golden light and letting go of the hook. Okay? Because the feeling in your body is not keeping you safe, it's keeping you connected to it. And it's reversing that in your body that's going to start getting you out of it. Okay. And for your inner child this week as well, do something that's like reparenting. Like go and walk barefoot, go do some grounding. Go do something nice for yourself. Have a beautiful bath and talk to your inner child in the bath. Say, I'm here. I'm not leaving. I love you. Together we're going to heal this. And talk to Source Prime Creator. Ask for help. Okay? So, I hope this has helped. Inner child work, source work is so important when we go quantum. And please know, if you want to take it deeper, I can't recommend the NARP program enough. It's already saved tens of thousands of lives from nearly 200 countries worldwide over the last 20 years. It saved my life, gave me the life of my dreams through the quantum shift work. And also too, I just want to say that in Shifts Happen, the series, I just did a Shifts Happen on sexual trauma this morning, which was one of the most powerful sessions that we've ever held together with our global community. That's on replay. And there's 3 other sessions that are coming up to heal sexual trauma, divine masculine, feminine. Also too, I'm going to be doing 2 bonus sessions in Shifts Happen for inner child work, as well as powerful global quantum freedom healing shifts to reprogram your subconscious in ways that take years and decades of contemporary head therapy. So I hope today's helped, and so much love to everybody, and we've got this. So thrive on, beautiful people, because there's nothing else to do. All my love. Bye-bye.